Hi sir, good morning.
Tanishk, hello. Yes, just call me Gaurav. When did you graduate?
I graduated in 2025.
And do you have any experience in AI?
Little bit of internship experience. I'm looking for full-time option, sir.
Okay. So I want to know what would you do if your model had a massive amount of context? Can you actually explain this on the whiteboard?
Yes, sir.
So Tanishk, could you tell me what context means with respect to LLMs?
So for example, if we have a user query like, plan a trip to Japan, this goes to our system, right? The agentic system which we have built, which basically contains the LLM, it contains the system prompt, and it contains the tools. Now, if we talk about context here, what is inside the context as of now, right? As of now, what we have is the system prompt, and it also contains the tools, descriptions, and all of that, plus the user query. These are the things which are currently in the context of the LLM, and it plans the action. It takes the action of calling a certain tool. Let's say for first tool is hotel. Now this goes to our system. The system basically again contains all the information which we had plus the information of the hotels, right? So all this information, I'm calling this, let's say I1. So now this system has I1 plus hotel information. Now, after this context, what it is going to do? We also need some flight planning and all of that. So it decides that I need to call a flight planning tool. So now this basically systems makes this call. LLM decides that I want to call the flight planning thing. Now it calls the flight planning, and we again the same action is performing. Here we are performing a certain action, and we have an output of information from the flights. Basically, this is the information that we got. Now, if we talk about what is in the context now, so from the pattern we see that previously we had user query, we had system prompt, we had the tool descriptions. After taking one action, we have the action which we performed, the output of that particular action, right? We have it in the context. Now after this, when again LLM decides to make a certain call, tool call, or take certain actions, now we have that information as well in the context. So now the information is basically I1 plus hotel plus flight. So whatever I am considering inside the model to make a decision, that is considered as a context. Basically the user query, the system prompt, the tools, and the tool responses. So all these things are basically part of a context that I have to manage. So this is basically it. Do you have any follow-up question or any clarification here?
What if the context gets very large? Like, what if I have millions of tokens in the context?
So let's say if you have millions of tokens, right? Let's say, for example, I have to plan a trip for, five different places or people, five different people. Then I will have a lot of tool calls. I will have a lot of context which I have to store. Then there are two options. Either I'm going to, make a summarization kind of system, which is going to basically summarize based on five people. So I will have five different summaries. And in this case, we cannot just handle it with, the context window of a model. We need to have a separate memory layer added to our agentic system. So currently, as I have explained in the previous answer, that we only had, system prompt and tools and all of that. We didn't had any memory layer explicitly. As per the memory, we only had system prompt. But right now, if I have to call this multiple times and for multiple people, then I will have to store summaries for all the five people that I have. Why am I doing this? Is to stop the agent from hallucinating, because as you said that if I have millions of context, then all of this context is getting stored inside the context window of the model, and it is getting confused. It might get confused and we have an hallucination problem. So one way is this: I create summaries, five different summaries, store it in five different places, and then call it basically for every person at every single time. Other thing is we move to a multi-agent pattern. I can talk about it in detail if you want, or because
No,
in
I think,
multi-agents
yeah.
we'll have different agents for particular thing. So for planning we'll have different agent. For then summarization we will have different agents. So context will gets divided. Basically it is a separation of concern basically.
Wow. Sounds like microservices.
Yeah, it is the same. Yeah,
All right.
close.
Yes. Okay. So this is what the context window is.
Yeah.
But what is memory? What are we storing in memory? Is it like a database or what is it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So if we talk about in the context of a single agent system, basically in general, the context window is about 1 million. If we are not crossing this, then everything gets stored inside the model's own weights itself, basically inside the context window. But if we talk about, the difference between context and memory, is it's very simple. So context is basically what is going inside the LLM. What I'm giving it as a context to answer to a particular query, this particular query. So that is basically the context. What is memory? Memory is basically if I have, stored something here. For example, let's say I have built a chatbot where I have a chat box and there are previous chats. Basically how it is happening in chat gpt or claude. So whatever is happening inside this single thread in a single chat session is basically going inside the context of the memory along with the system prompt and other things which we have. But if I want to, if I look into an example of a healthcare and if I ask the bot, can you pull up the last visit, what were the medicines prescribed by the doctor, in that case I need to basically do what? I need to basically extract relevant memory to fill in the context of the model to answer to my query. What are we extracting basically from the memory which we have stored? So memory is the stored thing. Context is the runtime memory. You can call it a runtime memory which model have while answering a particular query.
So would it be correct for me to say that if it's a trip app, then my last trip context will also be taken? I mean, is the actions of my last trip or the things, my preferences in the last trip, are they being stored in memory?
Yeah, if it requires, if your current query requires you to extract something, if you say in the query like when LLM is asking you a question, in the previous example we saw when we were defining agents, that LLM can ask you a question to give it more context. So if it asks you a question that can you tell me your preferences, and you reply to it like can you see my preferences from the last trip which I followed, I am looking for the same, then it is going to extract, and that what it is basically extracting from is the memory, and it is loading it into the context.
So why is this not just a tool call? Why do you call it memory? It's a tool call for a database, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's a tool call itself, but whatever, so the memory part is what we are storing. So it is a storage basically. So for that storage purposes, we need a database. Some people use Redis, some people use Postgres. So these are some examples which people regularly use for storing the thing. So this is the basic difference between context and memory.
Awesome. I think selection is for sure. How much do you want in salary? 500K?
No
1 million?
salary, yeah, partnership. ये सही था.
शाबाश बेटा बहुत बढ़िया.
Let us say I have a model with more than 100 billion in terms of weights, and I also have a small language model. Which one do you think I should use, depending on the use case?
So sir, you cannot, for you because you are small, you can.
Okay. So can you tell me what is a large language model?
So sir, any model which is large,